What's up, guys? You're tuning to Off Limits podcast. I'm your host Joyce, and today, obviously, we've got a whole different setup going on because the pandemic said had to assist, and I obviously really wanted to come back with some content for you guys. So we're just doing a lot of living room sessions, and that's going to kind of be the situation going on from here. The reason why I decided to actually come back today is obviously there's been a lot going on regarding Black Lives Matter, George Floyd's murder, Ahmaud Arbery's murder. We've got Belly Mujinga in the UK who has obviously passed away, but essentially that should be murder too. And there's Breonna Taylor, I believe. Then Regis Korchinski-Paquette in Canada. There's a lot going on, and that's probably just the names that were mentioned. I know there was another girl who got shot in the face the other day, and she passed away at the protest in America. And there's just been so much going on, and I just feel like the fact that, I don't know, it's a bit overwhelming for a lot of people. Understandably, I've been seeing a lot of different sides. Like there's been the sides of people who, some black people essentially who want to be quiet at this point in time, don't necessarily know what to say, maybe thinking, do you know what, I want to post, but I don't know if it's a bit insensitive. But it's also a very it's a traumatic time, and I can understand why people might be hesitant in a way to speak up, why they might be hesitant to say something about the situation. And I think above all of this, what it comes down to is, above everything that we're seeing in regards to Black Lives Matter being a movement as a result of ongoing systemic racism, white supremacy, as a result of all of that, all of these institutions and different structures in society being put together, and now people are outraged and we have Black Lives Matter. The nitty gritty of all of this is that it is traumatic. It is traumatizing to be described as nothing but just a black body, as you just being something for, being a, I don't even know if what I'm saying is making sense, but then again, it's like, how can you make this kind of issue make sense? I don't think it will ever. I mean, it makes sense as to why we have this, because white supremacy and whatnot, but to make sense of the times that we live in, I don't think there'll ever be a way to really make sense of it, like make it okay, like this is just how it is. But my thing, and the reason why I wanted to put this video out there, is because there's actually a lot of people who feel helpless in this kind of situation, and they don't necessarily know what to do. They don't know how to go about dealing with the situation, how to go about being active in providing support, and then on the other, whilst also kind of protecting your mental health. Because I think the reality is, for Black people, this is a traumatic situation. In any other circumstance, you'd be able to say, I want time off work, I want sick leave. Like, how do you go about doing your work the same way, going to work the same way, showing up for things in as if there's nothing going on, when you can literally see your people being I don't even know what the word, being hunted, I would say. I think hunted is the right word, because at the end of the day, this is what it's become. It's become a hunt. And I don't think there is necessarily a right or wrong way for Black people to deal with this. That specifically ties into the whole, it ties into the rebellions that have been going on, because I feel like they are just that. And people saying, well, why are people rioting? Why are they looting? Why are they protesting? Now, granted, a lot of that, in these kind of situations, there will always be a number of people that maybe take advantage, that don't necessarily care about the movement, don't necessarily care about what's been going on, and they're just there to take advantage of the situation. Granted, there is always going to be that, but I feel like the bigger picture is, how do you tell someone what the right way is to deal with being hunted, to deal with white supremacy, to deal with systemic racism, to deal with having to always conform and assimilate to what society tells you is right, which is white? Like, what is the right way of dealing with that? I think there's been countless numbers of times where people have been doing the peaceful protests, We've done the minutes of silence, the marches, the kneeling, the singing songs, doing kumbaya, trying to raise awareness, like saying people just need to be more educated. And I think it's gone beyond that at this point. So while I'm not saying, yeah, like everyone that's looting and whatnot is doing the right thing, they're there for the right reasons, I think there does need to come a point in time where you recognize that what is the alternative, because the alternatives have been done and the alternatives have not they haven't provided any change. And I just feel like that's the situation, that's the current situation that we're in, and we do kind of need to acknowledge that. I feel like for Black people, yes, deal with it however you want to, but also recognize that not everyone is an activist, and that's okay. Activism in itself is a bit mad, because it's like, you want to be effective, you want to make change, but at the end of the day, it's a thing where your existence is political. That's what we're dealing with right now. And it's like, not everyone is down for that. Like, sometimes personally, I'll be looking at things and I'm just like, okay, but what exactly am I meant to do about this situation right now? So I'm the type of person, I'll be like, okay, I'll go to a protest, I'll go to a march, but then what? Like, I'd like to see a bit more done, because I can't just be protesting for protesting's sake. But there's other people who might have that necessarily, and that just, you need to let the rage out, and that's cool. I just feel like, do whatever you feel works best for you. And if it's a case of where what works for you as a Black person is referring people to other sources, referring people to other grassroots that they can support, organizations even that they can support, then do so. If what works for you is posting something up to raise awareness, and then you need to take some time for yourself, then absolutely go, but do that as well. If what works for you is protesting and rioting, then cool, by all means do that as well. But I feel like this is, for once, I don't feel like there is a right and wrong way, or wrong way even, of dealing with this. I feel like when it all comes down to it, we are entitled to feel as outraged as we want to, because this isn't something that's going to get solved in a single day. It's a marathon. When people say things like the system is broken, the system's not broken. The system is doing what it was created to do. And for that reason, the fact that systemic racism, white supremacy, the effects of colonialism and all sorts are so embedded in society, this is something that will take generations to, I don't even know if I want to say get rid of, but to repair, let's say. And yeah, and just for that, I just feel like, deal with it however you need to deal with it. And know that there's certain things that we're doing now that we're not going to see the changes of. Realistic, I would love to believe that this would be the end of it, but it's not. It's not. These posters will probably be used again. These marches will need to happen again, because it's embedded within society, is embedded within the West. And as a result of that, just don't get tired. You work through the situations the way you need to. And for particularly white people, anyone who does not identify as Black who may be watching this, I really feel like now's the time to ask yourself, what are you doing to better the situation? Because I think it's all well and good having everyone around you, having all the Black people raise awareness and do what they can, but at the end of the day, we're fighting a bigger system. And if you do not identify as a racist, then you should have no problem feeling that you need to do something about this. I think it's not necessarily Black people's duty. The onus shouldn't be on Black people to have to educate white people. The onus should not be on the oppressed to have to deal with the oppressor and to have to educate the oppressor. That's what I think it comes down to. Like, what would I compare that to? It's like, say for example, there's a car driving at like 100 miles an hour on main road, and it knocks over like a civilian, and the civilian's now unconscious. Should the civilian now come and rise up and wake up and say, hi, could you please call an ambulance? I think, no, the onus should be on the people who've created the accident, who've had to stop, who have caused this person to be unconscious in a coma or whatever, to now come to the conclusion that they need to call the ambulance, you need to resolve the situation, you're going to have to speak to your insurance companies and whatnot. Obviously, that's kind of like, the comparisons don't compare because we're dealing with a large systemic issue right now. But the onus should never be on the victim, on the oppressed, to have to resolve a situation that they never created. So I feel like the bigger question that you need to ask yourself is, what am I doing to understand my ignorance? And don't expect the oppressed to be the ones that have to reveal to you where you've been ignorant, why you've been ignorant. Because while you've been able to walk around through life all blasé, your ignorance has been costing other people jobs, it's been costing them their lives, it's been costing them their family members and all sorts. And there comes a time where you need to kind of recognize that. I feel like I'm going on a bit of a tangent, and this is just essentially, it's been an angry black woman video because that's why I am right now, angry black woman. So until I think of something more peaceful, you're gonna have to deal with this, because I'm tired of the pandering, the situation to make everyone else feel better, and I'm tired of like people not necessarily knowing where they stand in the situation and feeling useless because they don't necessarily have the right words or are able to understand what's going on. This isn't a situation that you should be able to understand because it's wrong, point blank, period. So yeah, deal with things the way you feel most comfortable dealing with in this particular situation, and understand that we're not dealing with something that will be done in a single generation. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and it's jarring, but yeah. So I'm gonna leave you guys with that, and thank you so much for tuning in. If you do want to find out more of what's been going on, I feel like I apologize to you guys every single time I upload, because I'm like, well, I'm going to be uploading this time. I know I haven't been uploading. I'll do a whole refresher on where I've been, how degree number 2 is going, and all sorts, in life, maybe in a separate pod. But for now, if you've never listened to any of the other videos, if you never watched any of the other videos, wow, English, or listened to any of the other episodes, then you can do so at Off Limits on all podcast streaming websites, apps, I don't know. And you can follow us on all socials at Off Limits UK on Instagram and Twitter, and you can follow me at Joyce Eliane. Also, if there's anyone that you would like to see me talk to, do a discussion with, go back to studio with, or anything, let me know also. But yeah, love you guys, thank you so much, stay safe.